My entitled cousin tried to sell my car while I was out of town and got arrested for grand theft. I've always considered myself a pretty patient person. Family is family, right? No matter how frustrating they can be, you always find a way to tolerate them. But what my cousin did? This was the final straw. A couple of months ago, I decided to take a much-needed vacation. I hadn't had a proper break in years, and the stress was piling up at work. So I booked a 2-week trip to relax and unwind. I informed my family and friends, including my cousin Jake, who I thought was trustworthy, at least to some extent. I never expected that this trip would end with a near disaster, courtesy of him. Before I left, I made sure to lock everything up. My house was secure, and my car, my pride and joy, was parked in my garage. It's a car I'd worked hard to afford, a 2019 Mustang, fully loaded. I made payments for years and kept it in immaculate condition. You could say I was attached to it, not just because it was expensive, but because it represented years of hard work. Now, Jake has always had a bit of a reputation in the family. He was that relative who never really got his life together, dropped out of college, switched jobs constantly, and was always asking for money. But he was family, so I always tried to be supportive. We weren't particularly close, but we saw each other at family gatherings. He'd occasionally ask to borrow stuff, nothing major, just small things like tools or gadgets. So when I told him I'd be out of town for a while, I didn't think much of it. I trusted that my house and car would be safe. Big mistake. Halfway through my vacation, I started getting strange texts from a few mutual friends asking me if I was selling my car. Confused, I thought they were joking. Why would I sell my car? I hadn't posted anything online, and I definitely wasn't trying to get rid of it. When I asked them where they got that idea, they sent me a link to an online ad, a picture of my car parked in my driveway up for sale. The ad was clearly recent, and the price was ridiculously low. Immediately, I knew something was wrong. I tried to call Jake to see if he knew anything, but he didn't pick up. That's when the sinking feeling in my stomach began. I knew Jake had a key to my house. He had borrowed it a few months earlier when he said he needed a place to crash for the night. I figured he must have let himself in while I was gone. Panicking, I called my neighbor, who I trusted to keep an eye on my place while I was away. She confirmed my worst fear. Jake had been seen driving my car around town multiple times. According to her, he'd even brought a couple of strangers over to check out the car in my driveway. She hadn't said anything at first because she assumed I'd given him permission. Furious, I immediately booked the next flight home. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. My own cousin was trying to sell my car behind my back, and he'd done it so brazenly, as if I'd never find out. I was shaking with anger the whole way back. When I finally landed and reached home, it was clear Jake had been inside. Things were moved around, and the key I'd left in a drawer was gone. But more importantly, my car wasn't in the garage. It was missing. I called Jake again, and this time he answered. Trying to keep my cool, I asked him straight up, "Where's my car, Jake?" There was a long pause on the other end of the line before he finally spoke, trying to sound casual. "Oh man, I've been meaning to talk to you about that. I was just, helping you out. Figured you didn't need it while you were gone, so I thought I'd sell it for you." I couldn't believe what I was hearing. "Sell it for me? Are you out of your mind? Who told you you could touch my car?" Jake got defensive, as if he was the one being wronged. "Look, I know you've been stressed, and I thought I could do you a favor. You could use the money, right? Cars lose value all the time, and I thought I could get a decent price for it while you were gone." At this point, I was barely able to contain my rage. "Jake, you stole my car. This isn't a favor. You're committing a crime. Where is it?" He hesitated again before giving a half-hearted laugh. I might have already sold it." My heart sank. "You, what?" He continued as if it wasn't a big deal. "Relax, man, it's not like it's gone forever. The guy's coming to pick it up tomorrow. I've got the cash ready to split with you. Just come over and we'll sort it out." I couldn't believe the audacity. Not only had he stolen my car, but now he expected me to share the money from his illegal sale. I hung up, called the police, and reported my car as stolen. The next day, I met with the police at Jake's place. Sure enough, there was my car, sitting in his driveway with a couple of strangers looking it over, preparing to buy it. The moment Jake saw me with the cops, his face went pale. He tried to talk his way out of it, saying it was all a misunderstanding, but the buyers quickly backed off once they realized the car wasn't his to sell. The police took Jake into custody, charging him with grand theft auto. I had to provide proof of ownership, but thankfully everything was in order. My car was returned to me, and after a quick check, it seemed like no major damage had been done. Jake, however, wasn't so lucky. He spent a few nights in jail, and although our family tried to get me to drop the charges, I refused. I was done with his nonsense. He had crossed a line that no amount of family loyalty could fix. After the incident, I found out from a few relatives that Jake had been trying to sell my car for days before I found out. He had been telling people I'd given him permission to handle the sale because I needed the money. Apparently, he was desperate to pay off some gambling debts, and he figured my car was his ticket out. The aftermath wasn't pretty. Our family gatherings became tense, with some relatives taking Jake's side, saying he was just trying to help. Others, thankfully, understood my position and couldn't believe Jake had been so bold. In the end, Jake had to face the legal consequences of his actions. He got probation, community service, and a hefty fine. Our relationship was ruined, and to this day, I've had minimal contact with him. He tried to apologize a few months later, but it felt hollow. I could never trust him again, not after what he'd done. Looking back, I'm still in shock at how far he went. It's one thing to borrow a lawnmower or a tool without asking, but to steal and sell someone's car. That's a whole different level of betrayal. The moral of the story: don't let family or anyone else take advantage of your trust. Sometimes, even those closest to you can cross lines you never thought possible.